and welcome to CYC News for today, the 9th of February 2014 AD and the 2nd of Amshir 1730 AM. I'm Julia Gundi.
And I'm Daniel Noor.
In today's headlines, 6 police wounded in twin Cairo bomb attacks, SCHAPELLE Corby on the brink of release, Canada proposes citizenship changes.
Twin bomb blasts have wounded 6 people in Cairo, according to BBC News. The blasts were heard at around 9:45 AM local time in the Giza area and were around 2 minutes apart. It is thought that the bombs targeted police vehicles stationed near a bridge. Armed groups have stepped up their attacks in Egypt since the ousting of President Mohamed Morsi by the military in July last year. The attacks took place in Giza Square, a regular route for marches against the current government. Anti-military protests are expected in parts of the capital later after Friday prayers.
SCHAPELLE Corby is on the brink of release from jail after Indonesia's Justice Minister confirmed he has signed her parole papers. More than 9 years after she was first jailed, she is almost certainly spending her last weekend behind the walls of Bali's Cairo prison. Indonesian Justice Minister Amir Syamsuddin told a press conference in Jakarta that Corby's parole application was one of 1,291 he had processed in the past 3 days. But this does not mean that 36-year-old can walk out the doors of the jail immediately. There are standard procedures and paperwork to be completed before she takes her first steps into the relative freedom and to a world vastly different to that of 2004, when she was arrested and jailed. The Canadian government has proposed sweeping changes to its rules on citizenship. Under the plans, Canada would be able to revoke citizenship from dual nationals who have been convicted of terrorism, spying, or high treason. Applicants would also have to pass a knowledge test and have proficiency in English or French. Immigration Minister Chris Alexander said citizenship should not simply be a passport of convenience. A government statement said new measures targeted those with dual citizenship found to have membership in armed force or organised armed group engaged in conflict with Canada. Other proposals for new applicants include having to wait 6 years to apply for Canadian citizenship instead of the current 4 years.
Emergency officials have evacuated 83 civilians from the city of Homs in Syria. Buses were able to enter the rebel-held Old City after both sides agreed to a 3-day pause in the fighting. Up to 3,000 civilians are thought to be trapped in Homs. The UN negotiated ceasefire between Syrian forces and rebels will allow food and medical aid to reach Homs on Saturday. Farhan Haq, spokesman for UN Security General Ban Ki-moon, said the only people able to leave were children, women, and the elderly. The Spanish-led consortium working on a project to widen the Panama Canal has said that work at the site has ceased over a disagreement on cost overruns. The construction group says it is owed $1.6 billion. The Panama Canal Authority said the demand amounted to blackmail. The new lock, which was due to be completed next year, would allow the passage of larger cargo ships in one of the world's busiest maritime routes. The US economy added 113,000 jobs in January, the second month in a row the figure has been weaker than expected. Economists had predicted the US Labor Department would report an increase of about 180,000 new jobs. However, the unemployment rate fell to 6.6%, the lowest level since October 2008. The jobless figures will raise concerns that after strong growth in the second half of 2013, the US economic recovery is beginning to lose its steam. US stock markets shrugged off the news, with shares on Wall Street rising in early trading. The unemployment rate is calculated from a different survey to the jobs figure, known as non-farm payrolls. The rate is based on a survey of households, while the jobs figure is based on a survey of employers.
Shares in Twitter fell by 24% after it reported slower growth in user numbers. Twitter averaged 241 million monthly users in the last quarter of the year, up just 3.8% on the previous quarter. That represents a slowdown compared with a growth rate of 10% seen at the beginning of 2013. The company also reported a net loss of $645 million for 2013, just 3 months after its flotation on the New York Stock Exchange. The loss was expected by analysts who highlighted Twitter's revenues, which rose 110% last year to reach $665 million. Timeline views were down nearly 7%, suggesting users were refreshing their feeds less often. Experts are concerned about the spread of a new strain of bird flu that has already killed one woman in China. The 73-year-old from Nanchang City caught the H10N8 virus after visiting a live poultry market, although it is not known for sure if this was the source of infection. A second person has since become infected in China's Jiangxi province. Scientists say that the potential for the virus to become a pandemic should not be underestimated. This particular strain of influenza A virus has not been seen before. In recent months, China has already been coping with an outbreak of a similar influenza virus called H7N9, which has killed around a quarter of those infected.
The World Health Organization says the globe is facing a tidal wave of cancer, and restrictions on alcohol and sugar need to be considered. It predicts the number of cancer cases will reach 24 million a year by 2035, but that half could be prevented. The World Health Organization said there was now a real need to focus on cancer prevention by tackling smoking, obesity, and drinking. The World Cancer Research Fund said there was an alarming level of naivety about diet's role in cancer. 14 million people a year are diagnosed with cancer, but that is predicted to increase to 19 million by 2025, 22 million by 2030, and 24 million by 2035. The developing world will bear the brunt of the extra costs.
And that's all for CYC News for today. Stay tuned on CYC for more Christian content. I'm Julia Gundi.
And I'm Daniel Noor from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Good night and God bless.